Hello there, and greetings once again from the corner on the deck. I'm going to have to get this one done in a hurry. The heat index in Arkansas today is supposed to be between 105 and 110. That's a killer, even for people who live here or who have lived here for many years. That much heat is a killer. The humidity just kills us. Today we have a Stromberg-Carlson Model 130H, as you could tell from the title on the video, 1936. And a while back I told you that in a previous video that sometimes we get lucky enough to know a story about a radio, and I have a partial story on this radio. I was contacted several months ago on the Antique Radio Forum. One of the members named Peter, he got a hold of me and he says, "John, I have a radio I want you to have. I want to give it to you free of charge." And he sent a picture of it. And I was like, you got to be kidding. You know, this is a gorgeous radio. It was this Stromberg-Carlson. And I wrote him back and I said, "Are you sure you want to give this radio away, you know?" He said, "Of course I'm sure, you know." He says, "I know what I'm doing." He said, "You can keep it, you can give it away, you can sell it on eBay, you can stick it in the closet, I don't care what you do with it." He said, "It's yours to keep." So I wrote back and I said, "All right, fine." He said, "You know, you pay the postage, I'll give you the radio." I said, "Okay, no problem." Well, when the radio came in, he sent another email. I told him it was here, and he sent another email. I said, "I'll tell you what, don't even worry about the postage. It only cost a few bucks to send it." He said, "You can just have it all." And I didn't like that idea at all. So we worked out a deal on the postage, and finally I decided to go ahead and get started on the restoration, showing a step-by-step restoration procedure on the Antique Radio Forum, so everybody could follow along and see how I do things. You know, there's some people on the Antique Radio Forum like to follow my restorations. You know, I don't know what to think about. I guess these folks are bored. You know. Well, anyway, I went ahead and I kept plugging away at it. It took me several months, and in the end, Peter, the one who sent me the radio, he was very pleased with how the restoration turned out. The radio was operational when I got it, which was a big plus. But there were a lot of little issues that needed to be taken care of. It took quite a bit of effort. The cabinet needed to be refinished, and the chassis had to have the the chassis had to have the rust, which was like cement, removed, and a lot of components underneath the chassis had to be replaced. The person who had this radio previously had done a restoration. It wasn't Peter. I'm not sure who it was, but they did not install the electrical components, the capacitors, resistors, things like that, to what I call a standard, you know. So I went ahead and removed all that junk, put all new stuff in with the proper heat shrink tubing and things like that. Anyway, the radio is now done, except for a couple of things. I want to put a power resistor in here, a 25 watt, 20 ohm aluminum power resistor in there in the power cord line, which will cut down the voltage to the transformer. I want that voltage down around maybe 115, 118 volts. It saves the transformer. These things were originally designed for that low voltage, and now we've got 123, 124, 125 volts coming out of the wall. It just fries these old radios after a while, the old transformers. And it's not like I can go downtown and just get another transformer, you know, for a Stromberg-Carlson 1936. Anyway, a little bit about the company. Stromberg-Carlson was started in 1894 by two men, an Alfred Stromberg and an Androff Carlson. Fancy that. And it started in Chicago, and in 1904 the company was bought out by an outfit named Home Telecommunications Company, or Telephone Company. I think it was Home Telephone Company. In 1955 it was again bought out by General Dynamics. And during those years, Stromberg-Carlson made a lot of different things, a lot for the military. They made auto parts, they made parts for telephone switching mechanisms, they made loudspeakers, and of course a few radios, which didn't last all that long. But Stromberg-Carlson had a design of their own on their radios. I think they're some of the most beautiful radios ever made. They were totally different from what was being sold at the time. You know, the tombstone squares and the cathedrals. Theirs was in a league of their own. And even their portable radios were really nifty. They had some really cool dials at the bottom. You know, the ones that looked like the Zenith Transoceanics. They had one similar to that radio, and I'll tell you, they did a wonderful job on that. This radio has 7 tubes and has tremendous reception and it has great sound. The on-off switch is on the right, and a 3-position tone switch. The volume is way over here, so you have to turn it on, set your tone, and then come over here and adjust your volume. And then of course you have your tuning dial, which is here. Large knob in the back is the coarse, and the small knob in the front is the fine. We've seen that before on other videos. And this knob right here is the band switch. It has 3 bands. It has or 3 tuning ranges, I guess I should say. Your AM band, which is standard, and then it has a couple of short waves, and the first short wave goes from 1.5 up to 3.4 megacycles, and the last band goes from 3.5 on around to 18 megacycles, and they're color coded. You've got a red and a green and a white, and this knob right here has 3 dots on it that were covered up or had been removed by whoever restored it last time, so I had to put the color dots back on the knob so they would correspond to it. But it has terrific sound. It's I may change out this speaker cloth. You'll notice there's a slight difference in color between the two. I haven't quite made up my mind yet, and there's a slight blemish up here on the top, and I deliberately left that. I always do that to a radio. I've said before, and I'll continue to say it in future videos, I don't think a restored vintage radio should look like it just came off the showroom or just came off the assembly line. I want this thing to show its character. And this is a little witness mark or proud battle scar from a bygone era. So let's turn this thing up and listen to it. I think I got it already tuned in. Go through the tone positions here.
He's passing by.
3-position tone switch. I like the middle position. It sounds a lot better there. So that's it. Let's take a look at the back here and let you see that before we get out of this heat. So I'm already starting to sweat like a hog. And the original chassis on these radios was black. I think I'll take this off the tripod where you can get a little closer look here. The original chassis on these Stromberg-Carlsons was black. It was kind of a gray textured. It was a gray textured type of setup, and I could not reproduce that. So after sanding all the rust off and cleaning everything up, I went ahead and painted it black, which is what most people do. And I, of course, had to. This antenna connection was broken out, so I replaced it with a Fanastock clip and changed out the electrical cord with a cloth cover. It makes it look more original. And the speaker was cleaned up quite a bit. Only had one little flaw in the speaker, and someone else had previously repaired it, and they did a pretty good job, actually. So that's it. Let me see if we can turn it around here and give you a close-up of the front. Alright, we'll get you back here where you can see it a little better. I like those Stromberg-Carlson dials. They weren't round. They look really cool. Incidentally, this radio, as with all my other restorations, will be given away to a deserving couple I know. They entered our life a few years ago and did something very nice for us. They have no idea this radio will soon arrive at their doorstep. From the corner on the deck, until next time, this is John.